Ma'am, what happened to you?
I got maced.
You got maced?
By the police.
And what happened? You were trying to go inside the Capitol?
I made it like a foot inside and they pushed me out and they maced me.
What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Elizabeth. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee.
And why did you want to go in?
We're storming the Capitol. It's a revolution.
Thank you.
And we're here. Obviously, it's not Wednesday, but typically when things like this happen in the world, we have to discuss it. We have to talk about it. We have some things to get off our chest. So Dontè and I are here to obviously address the elephant in the room, which is the fact that terrorists, anarchists decided to take it upon themselves to attack one of the pillars of our democracy, the Capitol. I have a lot to say. First of all, before we even say anything, I just have to say that this podcast is all about being honest and telling the truth through our life experiences and what we go through. And I've never been one to hold my tongue on any issue, whether that's race, whether that's white people. I really don't care because I'm here to be honest. I'm here living my truth. If you get offended by any of the things we say, obviously that's not my intention, but this might not be the podcast for you. You can listen to Call Her Daddy. You can listen to The Read or whatever other podcasts you like, but as for being honest, that's something that I'm never going to hold my tongue back on. I think that's what y'all appreciate, about this podcast. So I'll just say that before we start. Dontè and we wanted to do this episode because we have some things to get off our chest. So this episode is an emergency episode to address everything that happened, and it's basically an extended off my chest. I know Dontè has been thinking this past couple of days about what happened. Dontè, how are you feeling, after what happened yesterday?
I don't know how I'm feeling. I can tell you that. Before we get into everything what we're going to say, right? Because this is not going to be a lighthearted podcast. You probably won't enjoy it. It probably will just stimulate your mind and hopefully open you up to some new perspectives, because I think that's why people like this podcast. Mm-hmm. Thank you to everybody who celebrated our new rollout, by the way. It is official and everything that I have joined the family, and I hope y'all like the new logo. We will be having a lot more interaction with you guys. We're going to be doing a lot of polls, asking you questions, asking you your opinions. If you want to interact with the show, please record video of you answering one of our questions or asking us a question and send it to the IG so we can review it, and maybe it can end up into the episode. Who knows, right?
Right.
On a positive note, Georgia, you did the fucking thing.
They did.
I don't think people understand the gravity of what happened there. A black man won a statewide race in Georgia. That hasn't happened since Reconstruction. We're talking the 1870s. A 33-year-old Jewish man won a statewide race in Georgia. And all the work that Stacey Abrams and people like her did there to register voters. They registered something like 80,000 voters who didn't vote in the presidential election 2 months before it. That cannot go unnoticed and unpraised. Mm-hmm. So congratulations to the pastor, Senator-elect Raphael Warnock. Congratulations to Senator-elect Jon Ossoff. Biden has the trifecta, and we need to see that change that you talked about. The word of this episode, the overall theme of this episode, and Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, I know you will, and you'll always step in and tell me if I'm saying something that's incorrect, is accountability. Uh-huh. We will get into that. But Biden, we have to hold you accountable now, because you have the majority in the Senate, you have the majority in the House, and you can get legislation done. You can jam it down their fucking throats. And Chuck Schumer, do not be a You treat Mitch McConnell the way he treated you. Oh, the Republicans have an idea to do XYZ? Let it sit on your desk for 400 days like Mitch McConnell did with the Voting Rights Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. I don't want to hear anything else about, we have to be the better people. We saw yesterday what the better people are, right? I'll let Justin take it back, but I do want to say congratulations, Georgia. You guys did the fucking thing, and it's so important that you did. Back to you, Justin.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because that's my first bullet point. I wanted to start out this episode congratulating both Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff for winning a tight Senate race. That night when the results were being announced, I didn't know what was going to happen. It didn't look too good, but surely Georgia delivered. And I think that the reality that we're having to come to is that Georgia might be the new blue state as long as voter turnout is high and as long as there's people on the ground running grassroots campaigns to make sure that people not only register but vote. This might be the new normal where Georgia is now going to be considered a blue state moving forward. Like, this is a big deal, what happened. And I'm thankful to everybody that worked hard to ensure that this was the result that we got, because there's a lot at stake. If they did not win, a lot of the stuff that everybody wants, whether that's your loans being canceled, there's so many things to list, but there's a lot of things that possibly would not be possible had they lost. But I'm glad that we're not talking about a loss. We're talking about a victory, a well-deserved victory. So the Senate is now 50-50, and Kamala Harris will be the deciding tiebreaker in any decision that the Senate makes. The thing with politics is that you can promise the sky, you can promise whatever you want, but if you don't have the Senate to enact those policies, those promises don't mean anything. So I just want to congratulate them for winning, and that should have been what we're talking about on this episode, but obviously that was overshadowed by the mess and the chaos that we saw yesterday.
Wait.
Yeah.
Before you get into yesterday, right? Because we're going to get into that, but let's just talk about what you said about Georgia possibly being the new blue state.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I'm the Democrats, right, putting my hat on as an operative, how about you invest heavily in Georgia, right? Let Florida go. It breaks your heart every single time. Let Florida go. Invest heavily in Georgia. Invest heavily in Arizona, which you just won for the first time since '96, right? Those are two states that you should probably be focusing on. Texas will come around. After that shit yesterday, Ted Cruz, you did all this for power. You sold your soul for power. You let a man call your wife ugly, compared her to a dog.
And it backfired.
And he kissed his ass. And it backfired. You played your hand and you crapped out. So maybe Texas is is the next one to turn for us. And Ted Cruz, I've been doing some research, man. This guy was born in Canada. How is he running for president? All you little QAnoners out there, look that up for me. Where's his birth certificate?
I think one of his parents has citizenship somehow, so I think that he gets birthright citizenship through that technicality.
That shit sound like DACA to me. I thought they were trying to end that. Ted Cruz is one of the worst human beings walking the face of the earth right now.
I'm embarrassed that he's one of our senators here in Texas. Like, we have the two worst senators, John Cornyn and Ted Cruz. You can't get any worse than that. At least.
Nah, yes, you can.
How? Oh, who?
Kentucky has Rand Paul and fucking Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, you're right. You can't get any worse than that.
Yeah, that's the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, Dontè, I agree with what you said in your first point about Biden, and now he has no excuse. If you have the power, the people put these people in power in order for you to get stuff done, not the status quo. I think that this Biden presidency is going to be one of the most pivotal presidencies we've seen in a long time. We need to see some progress. We need to see some stuff done because the people, like we're seeing, are not taking it anymore. The littlest thing, you'll have riots and you'll have people really giving it to him because enough is enough. We're electing you to get stuff done. Biden wasn't my first choice, but now that he has the power, now that they did all this campaigning to make sure that he has the Senate, it's on you to write some legislation, pass it through. That's the point. And I think you made a good point in saying that because if Biden doesn't deliver, we are in trouble. We are in trouble.
I'm ready to get it all off my chest right now. Listen, what we saw yesterday at the Capitol, I need everybody to understand. These people are treasonous. They are insurrectionists and they are terrorists. Okay? Let's go through a little history lesson here. Everybody that's listening to this should look up what insurrection laws are and when insurrection laws were enforced. It was established to deal with slave uprisings. And you know what happened to those slaves? They were killed publicly. What we saw yesterday was an insurrection. Why weren't those people treated the same way? Democracy is under attack like never before. And those scenes look like Hitler's Germany, not what we have been led to believe that the USA is. This election was not stolen from you. What you're trying to do is steal an election and overturn the will of the people. 7 more million people cast their ballots for Joe Biden. Okay? We need to stop relitigating the past. He lost. I'm not even going to say the man's name no more. He lost. And what I cannot still figure out for the life of me is why you put all your faith and your trust and your belief in this one person. That they have signs out there saying that Jesus bows down to that man. Why? What is he a subject matter expert in? Honestly, you should drink bleach, like he said. Right? Let God's plan work itself out. We spend $750 billion annually on defense. And the center of American government fell in 2 hours. Let that sink into you.
No room for excuses anymore. Call things for what they are. I can't believe, honestly, I'm not surprised. Let me stop pretending that I was surprised about what happened yesterday, because I wasn't. You know, Trump has been stoking the flames, encouraging this type of behavior. He even said that he wanted this to happen in a speech. He was like, y'all have to be strong and take back your country. What else could he be talking about? I wasn't surprised. So I was just so dumbfounded to see that there wasn't enough police presence there. Obviously, they see this as the last chance to interrupt our democracy, their last chance to stop Joe Biden from becoming the next president of the United States. So they're like, we need to take back our country. This is a stolen election. And this just goes to show you the power of lies and the power of fake news. In this world, there's a lot of people who aren't that smart. And these people, are gullible. They'll believe anything that Trump tells them. They'll believe anything that Fox News or any far-right outlet tells them. And it warps their sense of reality. How would we react if we thought legitimately that they stole an election? We might react the same way. I'm not saying I would react that way, but that's a natural reaction if you rightfully feel that the election was taken from under you. So the fact that there's so many people out here that believe it is dangerous. And a lot of these senators that are playing this game with objecting to the confirmation of Joe and Kamala as the next president and VP, history is not going to be kind to them. I think that oftentimes we get so caught up in the now and we never look towards the future. History is always the best indicator of who was right and who was wrong. And a lot of these people are going to be on the wrong side of history. You're on the side of anarchy. You're on the side of the Confederacy. You're on the side of white supremacy. That's not a good look. And a lot of them don't care just as long as their own personal agenda is fulfilled. Josh Hawley probably wants to run for president in the future. So he's playing this game along with Trump to try and, curry favor with Trump supporters. And it's going to backfire and he's going to be on the wrong side of history along with all the other people that were playing that charade. It took that violence that we saw at the Capitol for some of them to renounce their claim and say, hey, I'm no longer playing this game. There's too much at stake here. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the next elected VP and president.
If accountability is a real thing in this country, because if you don't punish things that are wrong, they will continue to occur. If accountability is real in this country, Ted Cruz needs to be expelled from the Senate. Josh Hawley needs to be expelled from the Senate, right? Because that's accountability. They were inciting a riot. The crazy thing, you're so right about people's minds being warped, right? You got to understand, you guys are not patriots, right? Patriots are the fucking soldiers who stormed Normandy. You're not patriots. You're not the same as them. Patriots are the men who died in Vietnam. Patriots are the men and women who are serving overseas right now. Patriots are the first responders who responded and risked their lives and lost their lives on 9/11. Patriots are the people who fought back at Pearl Harbor when our nation was under attack. You're sore losers. You're treasonous. The crazy thing about it is you talk all this America shit, right? This is for our country, country first. People were taking down the American flag and putting up a Trump flag. And people are still carrying around a Confederate flag. You're not fighting that battle anymore. You lost. It was decided. You got crushed. Sherman burned Atlanta to the fucking ground. It's over. It's over. Stop carrying that loser flag. You're so America first, but you fly every flag but the American flag. You fly that fucking blue flag with the black bars. It's not the American flag. You fly a Trump flag. It's not the American flag. You fly Nazi flags. Not the American flag. You fly the Confederate flag. That's a flag of losers. You guys are fucking losers. You're flying Nazi flags. They lost. Confederacy lost. So yes, it makes sense that you would associate with these flags.
And let's call things for what they are. This wasn't a protest. This was an act of domestic terrorism. Call things for what they are. Could you imagine if Muslims descended upon the Capitol the way these white supremacists did? a lot of people would be dead. Could you imagine if Black Lives Matter protesters descended upon the Capitol the way these white supremacists did? A lot of people would die. So it's just interesting the way, these people are treated compared to people that are actually fighting for their humanity and they're fighting for their lives. This is ridiculous. At one point I was like, where is the tear gas? Where are the rubber bullets? The police in one clip that I saw opened up the gate and allowed these people to rush through. So I'm like, are y'all on the same side? Whose side are you guys on and what's going on? This is ridiculous. This is just showing you guys white privilege, at its finest. You see how people take up arms against the country and you see an old lady escorted down a flight of stairs. What is going on?
I just want to push back on something that you said, hey, if it was Black Lives Matter protesters out there right now that it would have been treated different. It doesn't have to be Black Lives Matter protesters. If black people were out there rioting and causing an insurrection the way that those people were yesterday, let me tell you something. Those white hallways would have been littered with black or brown or people of color bodies. And I'm not willing to have a debate with you on that. What you saw yesterday, if anybody ever asks or says that white privilege doesn't exist, all you have to do is take a look at what happened yesterday. If black people breached the Capitol, do you know the military force that they would have been met with? You would have seen tanks rolling down Pennsylvania Avenue if that were black people. Sitting at the Speaker of the House desk, stealing government property? Isn't that what the whole thing... Weren't they talking shit on that in Portland? Right? Didn't Trump try to pass this law that you get 10 years in prison?
He did.
For defacing federal property, right?
He did.
So that guy who was smiling and walking out with the podium, that man, he's a terrorist, right? Because you got to call a spade in this country. We have a problem calling people who are not of color terrorists. What happened in Nashville on Christmas Day was an act of domestic terror. What happened yesterday was domestic terror. If those people were Muslim, like you said, if those people were people of color, I want our listeners to look up something that happened in Philly in the 80s called Move. It was a group of black people, and I'm not going to get into specifics of it, but basically they overtook a federal building, and guess what the government did? The man don't play games when it's people that don't look like the man. Dropped a bomb on them. A bomb. Okay? I think they would have found it in their budget to reconstruct that Capitol building if that would have been people of color or Muslim storming that place. And they would not have been escorted in. I could tell you that much.
That's
you
ridiculous.
saw how they lined up on the Lincoln Memorial in all their fucking militarized gear when there were peaceful Black Lives Matter protests out there, right? In rows, 4 or 5 deep. Now you mean to tell me that you knew this was coming on the 6th? You knew this was taking place, and you weren't prepared for it. But shout out to Larry Hogan, the Republican governor of Maryland, who called for the removal of office of the current occupant of the White House. He came out and laid out some facts about it and said Maryland was ready to send our National Guard. You know who is in charge of federal services like that? Who has to give that order? The president. He said, I was waiting for 90 minutes to activate these people.
The reason why it wasn't activated is because Trump wanted this to happen. He stoked the fires in speech after speech after speech, told people to be brave and to be strong and to fight back and take the country back. So he fully expected this to happen. So he would be the last person that's going to call the National Guard until he really had to. But a lot of people just have been lied to. I don't know if you saw the congressman that said that this was Antifa dressed up as Trump supporters trying to invade the Capitol. They're continuing to lie. Whenever Trump got into office in 2016, I knew it would be bad, but I didn't imagine that this one person would erode our democracy the way he has. Our trust in science, our belief in the system, our belief in government, our belief in the truth, in accuracy, and what we're being fed. I didn't know that one man in the span of 4 years would destroy all of this on his way out. And the fact that so many people re-elected this man, you guys have no excuse anymore. I don't have any words for you. I really don't. It takes selfishness or ignorance or racism to support a man like this. There's so many people that could truly benefit from having somebody that actually cares about them in office, but you choose this guy because your taxes are more important than humanity. Your hatred of black and brown people is more important than humanity. I think that history is also not going to be kind to Trump supporters as well. These are people that are willing to turn a blind eye to all of the things that we're seeing. in favor of their own personal rights. And I think that history is not going to be kind. We're just a laughing stock at this point. I'm just imagining the other countries that are watching our democracy crumble before our very eyes. People running into the House floor, sitting on the chair of the president and putting their feet up on the table. It's stupidity. And a lot of these people really are stupid, because if you were smart, you would at least cover your face. But the fact that you showed your face so the FBI can track you down, so people can know exactly who you are, where you work, that's on you. And you're going to get a call or a knock at the door in a couple of days, and you guys are going to go to prison. And that's the hope.
You know, you didn't have problems wearing masks when you were burning crosses on our yards. But you have a problem wearing masks during a fucking pandemic to stop the spread, because it's hard for you to think about anybody outside of yourself. Any little inconvenience you think is, they're infringing on my rights. You know, that's the only time that these people talk about that they're pro-choice, right? It's my body. I don't want to wear a mask. But you don't agree with other women saying, hey, it's my body. I can get an abortion if I want to. I'm tired of debating the hypocrisy. I know I've come on here many times and said, hey, like, listen, if you are on the other side, I'm willing to have a conversation with you. And not after yesterday. If you're still on that train after what we saw yesterday, like, listen, you can be a Republican, right? Like, you can be a Republican, like, hey, I'm conservative on these issues, blah, blah, blah. Sure, we can do that. But there has been so many Republicans over the past 4 years who have put country over party and said, hey, this isn't the guy that represents my party. I'd rather be independent, or I'd rather just vote blue to get him out of office. I'll talk to you. But the maggots, I don't have any words for you no more. I'm not wasting my time. We marched because we were getting killed, and you guys are rioting because you didn't get your way. We're not the same. These causes are not the same. Don't bring up people marching for peace and racial justice and equality and equity this summer to what we saw when they stormed the state capitol in Michigan, or what we saw yesterday. That was anarchy.
You made really good points, honestly. You made really fantastic points. It was anarchy. And I think that with Trump, obviously, Trump has been one of the worst president, probably the worst modern president that we've had. He has, in a way, exposed the Republican Party for what it is. A lot of people have been exposed. The fact that Trump has done all this and there's still people out there that support him, I have a lot of questions to ask. But I think that if somebody after all this still supports Trump, it says a lot about them. They've really been exposed. People that you thought that you could trust, people that you were cool with, your coworkers or whatever, can't really be trusted. You don't feel comfortable around people that think this way. And I think that he made people feel comfortable enough to express their bigotry publicly. And I think that's great, because it's like unveiling a mask. We see you for who you are. It is what it is.
You said I have so many questions. I don't have questions no more. If anybody that knows me on a personal level knows that I'm very good at not giving a fuck. Once I don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck. I ain't going to spend no oxygen, no brain cells, or emotion on it. I don't have questions. Don't give a fuck no more. I'm done hearing about healing and reaching out to the other side. Those people chose their side and should be dealt with accordingly. Please treat them the way that you would have treated black people in that situation. Shoot first, ask questions later, right? That's what they would say. When the looting starts, the shooting starts, right? Kill them all, let God sort them out. Because let me tell you something. If that were to have occurred when John Lewis and Reverend King marched on Washington, we would have witnessed a massacre on national TV.
And imagine if there wasn't cameras to capture what these crazy people were doing, banging chairs and breaking into the Capitol. This is crazy. It's almost like I was watching The End of the World or one of the Purge movies. That's what it looked like. If you told people you have 24 hours to do what you want and chaos ensues, that's the image that pops into my mind. People taking to the streets, going to the Capitol, sitting on the chairs, going into senators and, representatives' office, putting your feet up, stealing documents. You guys are stupid, and the FBI has your image. The fact that you showed your full face on there shows how smart you really are. And it's just shameful. It's embarrassing, honestly, when people from around the world are looking at this and they're like, this is America. This is the great beacon of hope, of opportunity. And this is how these people are acting. It says a lot. It really does.
That's not stupidity on their part for showing their face. That is comfortability. They know that we are white. We are privileged. These police are not going to shoot us and attack us on the scale that they would somebody else. Here's the thing, right? As a black person, your thought isn't, hey, what is everything I can do? It's, what can I do? That's where you start your baseline at, right? What can I do? Not what can I do? We live in two different Americas. So much of being black is, being told to move on and forgive and adapt and look to your better angels. Like, I'm out of angels, man. Like, it's demon time. I don't have any more angels for you.
You're right. The thing is also, we need to mention how people get so mad that Colin Kaepernick decided to take a knee, and people were so up in arms like, oh, you're a disgrace. You get out of this country. And then look at what these people are doing in the name of this is our country. And one thing that we need to address is why. Like I always say on this show, nothing is ever black and white. There are shades of gray to everything. And we need to address the elephant in the room when it comes to why these people are acting like this. Obviously, they see a Joe Biden and Kamala Harris regime as a threat. Honestly, a lot of white people out there are afraid of a changing country. They are afraid of losing their privilege. They're afraid of equality. A lot of people really truly don't want equality. They might quote MLK and nonviolence and all this, but equality is the worst thing that they can imagine because that means their privilege goes away. That means the systematic advantages that they've been given since this country started will go away. And when you have something that you didn't deserve and it gets taken away, you feel like you are owed something. So the fact that they say this is our country, whose country? Whose country is it? Because if we really want to break it down, this is the natives' country. They were slaughtered, a genocide occurred. This country was taken over by people that were not born here. This is a country of immigrants, and a lot of white people believe that this is their country and that everything they got, they earned. That's not the truth. You have to be honest. And I think we have to address the fact that a changing country is what these people fear the most. Georgia, a traditionally deep red state, mind you, has 2 Democratic senators and for the first time in a long time has turned blue. This will not be the first time this happens. Other states will also experience this, and a lot of white people are losing their minds. And an example is what we saw yesterday. They are losing their minds and they're taking to the Capitol to take back, quote unquote, their country.
Yeah, I can't say it any better than what you said and how you said it, right? Like, I don't know how much more I can keep talking about it. I never will stop talking about it, right? Because this is what the reality I live in. But at a certain point, we have to understand that certain people are unreachable, right? Like, one thing that, I keep in mind, and I've been told to keep in mind, like, hey, if you ever run for any public office, you need to be open to working with the other side. And that's completely true. But we got to, like you said, right? Being honest about things. There's probably about 30% of people in this country that no matter what I say or do, would never support me or have any good faith conversation with me. I don't care about them people. Right? Like, I don't care. I just want people held accountable. Those people are treasonous and they attacked the Capitol building in the United States. What if people from Britain came over here and attacked the Capitol of the United States? Do you think they would have been handled with great dispatch? Yes. Like we said before, if it was black people, oh my God. The amount of black bodies that you would have seen littered around the Capitol building yesterday. You would have thought you were in the 1800s the way you would have seen them black bodies piled up.
It's just, I think this is one of the worst days in our country's history. And it's sad because in 2021, we had good thoughts, positive vibes. And then on the 6th day of the new year, this happened. This is going to be a moment in the history books. We're living through history. And that's why, I'm lucky that I have this platform where we can discuss things like this, because I think that it's important to speak out when you see something wrong. So many people choose to stay quiet, choose to continue living in their comfort, but the world out there is uncomfortable for a lot of people. A fellow human being should see injustice and speak out about it, because this stuff is wrong. This stuff is wrong. You can't treat anarchists and terrorists like this, and then you treat people that are fighting for their humanity in a completely different way. Where were the tanks? Where were the rubber bullets? Where was the tear gas? I didn't see enough of that. It's not like whenever these people are protesting for their humanity, they're going to the White House and trying to break down the doors of the White House. They're marching in the streets and then they're met with tear gas and rubber bullets. Make it make sense to me. Make it make sense to me. And on my previous point about people speaking out when they see certain injustices, it seems like the Black Square Instagram was quiet. Where were the Black Square people? A lot of them were quiet. Part of being an ally is speaking up when stuff like this happens. There's no difference between what we saw yesterday and the terribleness that we saw when it came to George Floyd. Everybody was speaking up against that, but we need to speak up against this as well. So all those people that felt comfortable enough to do the minimum and post a black square, I'm with you. I stand in solidarity. Where were you yesterday? A lot of people chose to be quiet, and I have a lot of questions for them because you're not truly an ally. If you're not going to speak up about injustices, don't even post a black square. Show us how you really feel instead of pretending that you're an ally so people don't view you a certain way. Step out of your comfort. And if you're not going to care, don't even post a black square because I don't care about your excuses.
Let's talk about this To America things again real quick because you brought up George Floyd, right? So a man was killed by the police who may have been trying to use counterfeit money, right? Killed by the police. Somebody kneeled on his neck for over 8 minutes, closer to 9 minutes. Eric Gardner was selling loose cigarettes, choked to death by police. Dylan Roof went into a black church, shot up the church, killed 8 people, was peacefully apprehended, walked out. Cops treated him to Burger King before they took him to jail. Kyle Rittenhouse shot 3 people, walked past the cops, went home that night. This should be all we have to tell you about Two Americas. Don't tell me racism doesn't exist. Don't tell me white privilege doesn't exist, because there's time and time again we can give you these examples. I just gave you 2. Just 2. And if you can't come to terms with the fact that what I just said is true and is a fact, we have nothing to talk about because you live in an alternate reality and you're sick. I'm not going to waste my time.
But a lot of people are more divided than ever, and that division is only going to continue. Just because Trump is going to be out of office doesn't mean he's going to go away. The media is going to continue to bring him up. Any little thing that he does, they're going to report on it rather than reporting on the Biden administration and the changes that they're trying to enact. Trump isn't going away anytime soon, and he's probably going to run again. So we have to be vigilant. We can't be, scared. We have to, keep a lookout, because when we go blind, that's how we get another Trump. Because the only reason we have Trump is because, to be honest, we got a little bit too comfortable. A lot of people thought that it was a foregone conclusion that Hillary was going to win, so they didn't even bother to vote. They thought that Trump was a joke. And you should always take things seriously, no matter how silly it may be, because a lot of us didn't. I fall into that trap because I thought there was no way that Trump could be elected. Even after he got the Republican nomination, I was like, people will prevail. There's a lot of smart people that are going to know the right thing to do. But I didn't also realize that there's equally, if not more, people who are not that smart, that are deciding to roll some dice and take a gamble with the future of our country and our democracy to see how it plays out with Trump. Well, here's y'all's result. I hope you're happy with this. All of y'all that voted for Trump look foolish now, and you guys are not going to be on the right side of history because of your throwaway vote, because you decided to write in Harambe and a bottle of Hennessy or vote for Trump. Now we're living with this. So because a lot of us decided to joke and not take it seriously, we're living with our actions or the consequence of our actions.
Before the terrorists stormed the Capitol, and I can't wait to see the reports and the dissection of what actually happened there. If you're a foreign entity and you wanted to attack us and you could see that our Capitol fell in 2 minutes to some fucking out of shape hicks, what are you thinking with your military force right now? But besides that, before the Capitol was taken over by terrorists, Mitch McConnell gave a speech on the Senate floor urging Republicans not to contest these results. Put that in perspective. If Mitch McConnell is the good guy in any situation, you know you've gone a step too far. You know you're on the wrong side of history if Mitch McConnell is the voice of reason and the good guy. And accountability. You need to hold all those Trump ass kissers in places of power accountable. Lindsey Graham today saying, hey, we had a good run with the president, but I haven't seen a single thing that would tell me that there's been fake votes cast. You said there were 60,000. I haven't seen one. Where was that energy at, Lindsey, on November 5th and the weeks following?
These people have to pay. I think that it's ridiculous for them to hate Trump before he becomes the nominee. And then once he becomes the president, then they're kissing his butt and saying, oh, Trump, we're going to do whatever we can to support you. It's really funny. Lindsey Graham is a joke. Mitch McConnell is a joke. None of these people have a spine. They're choosing this moment now when our democracy is at risk to take a stand against Trump once he's leaving office. But when he was there, they were his number 1 and number 2 enablers.
Mitch McConnell is not a joke. He is a very calculated, smart, and evil man. He ain't a joke. Lindsey Graham's a joke. Marco Rubio is a joke. Ted Cruz is a joke. Josh Hawley's a joke. Mitch McConnell ain't a joke. He's great at what he did. He's evil, pure evil, and he was great at it. Very smart, very calculated man.
Because before Trump became the nominee, he was one of the vocal critics of Trump. Then once he was like, man, I'm going to have to work with this man. And then he started condoning this behavior. We shouldn't even give him a silver star, whatever they call it, for saying the obvious, because it took him till the middle of December to even acknowledge that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris won the election. He's a part of this just as much as Trump. So just because he's not out there giving the commands for people to attack the Capitol doesn't mean that he doesn't hold any blame, because a lot of the blame falls on him for perpetuating this false idea that the election was somehow stolen, that there were fake votes cast. This is ridiculous because there's no evidence of this. Even the Supreme Court and the judges that Trump put on this court threw out the case about looking into the election because there's no evidence of fraud. The fact that these staunch conservatives are throwing it out, it says a lot.
Okay, patriots, let's talk some patriot shit real quick, right? If you're the patriots you say you are, Mike Pence, you need to invoke that 25th Amendment or remove him from office immediately. Be patriotic, put country over party, but y'all won't do it because it's all bullshit. And the sooner you can admit to yourself that it's all bullshit, the better we all would be as a country. That's when we can unify and we can heal. It's wrong to lie to other people, right? Like we've learned that our whole lives, right? Like it's wrong to lie to other people, but it's sad to lie to yourself.
You said it. You said it. The pause, speaks for itself. The pause speaks for itself. But, you have to be careful what you wish for, honestly. A lot of people are calling for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. Be careful what you wish for, because if that happens and Pence is the new president, there's a few days before January 20th, and he can easily give Trump a pardon. So if you truly want that to happen, if Trump gets a pardon, we're going to be to blame because we called for this. If you're going to impeach him, fine. Send a message. Let it be in the history books that this is the president that has been impeached twice. No other president has ever been impeached twice. So if you want to go that route, go that route. But be careful what you wish for.
After the way that he threw Pence under the bus, people that get to those places in life are men of great ego. Find it hard to believe that he would pardon him after he threw him under the bus like that and setting him up to be the fall guy.
I just think it's important that we're doing this episode because you have to speak. If you have a platform, if you have a voice, it's important to, speak up when injustices happen, and we're doing just that. So all of these people that are choosing to remain silent, what are you silent for? This is our country. You have to speak out. If you stand for nothing, you fall for everything, and we can't be blind anymore. Let this year be a reminder that anything is possible. We hope for the best and expect the worst, and this is the worst. And the sad part is that it might only get worse. A lot of people were saying that we're headed towards a civil war. I don't want to speak that into existence, but the signs are there. The signs are there.
I really doubted that before yesterday, but now I don't think that it's that far-fetched. Just so y'all know, Biden will have control of the military in a couple weeks. I know that all these right-wing terrorist extremists have all these weapons and these guns because they love their guns more than they love their moms and women in their lives' rights. But think about this. Those are the guns that the man let you have. Think about the guns the man don't have. I would love to see y'all start an uprising. I would love it because the man wouldn't play around about that. The full force of the military would be put upon you. And that's God's plan. If you're stupid enough to do something like that, that's Darwinism, that's evolution, that's God's plan. Let it happen. Let it happen.
And a lot of those people that were storming the Capitol did not have a mask on. Dontè always says, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. So if you end up with COVID, it is what it is. You saw Herman Cain talk about masks aren't essential. He went to a Trump rally. I was there. Then the next couple weeks, he ended up in the hospital and died due to COVID. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. So I just hope that all of those people that decided to partake in that insurrection get held accountable. I hope they get prosecuted to the full extent of the law. I hope the same thing happens to Trump as well, because I truly don't think that he's going to spend a day in prison. I really, truly doubt that he'll spend a day in prison. There's going to be some technicality where he doesn't serve any jail time. That's what's going to happen. And I know Biden is going to be like, you know what? Me prosecuting Trump is going to just cause more division. And this is about healing the nation. That's what's going to happen. I hope it doesn't. Every American shouldn't be operating by two different playbooks. If I commit a crime, I go to prison. A sitting president or a post-president should also be under that same jurisdiction. So that's my thoughts on it.
If not, it will just happen again. Certain things deserve certain consequences, right? the way to teach people not to do something is you discipline them for it. And it was an insurrection, and they should be treated like the slaves that were murdered for insurrections.
Accountability is what I always preach on this show. And I think that we all need to be held accountable, including all of these people. So we'll see what happens with the fallout that comes next. This is just a sad day. We just needed to come on here and vent and talk about it. I'd be curious to know what you guys think of what happened. What needs to happen next? Will Trump be held accountable? Will the 25th Amendment be invoked? Will he be impeached? Will he go to prison? You know, what's going to happen? And how is this Biden administration going to handle everything that's before them? Because they have a full plate and they have to finish all that food.
Yeah, listen to Justin's PSA. I'm done talking about it. This has been, an emergency episode. We feel like we had to get some things off of our chest, and we know that people expect a certain level of intelligence, clarity, honesty, and quality from us. And how could we sit on it and wait another week before we talked about this? So we felt compelled to give you our thoughts on this. This is one of the first times I'm going to say after an episode, and it's going to be rare that I ever do this as long as I'm a part of this podcast. But look, if you disagree with me, I kind of don't want to hear what you have to say. I don't give a fuck. Just being honest with you. You're a fucking dullard. So I'm not wasting my time on that.
I mean, I'm the same way. Issues like this is just not up for debate. If you can't see what we see, you're never going to see it. So there's no point in debating with you. Live on your island and we'll live on ours. And everybody has eyes. Everybody is open to the truth. And if you're not going to be honest with yourself, I don't want to entertain that conversation at all. And I'm not going to do that on this platform either. This platform is all about honesty and having honest conversations. And we're trying to do that with this episode. So from time to time, if something happens in the world where we cannot wait a week to talk about it on an episode, we're just going to upload, another episode and talk about it so y'all can hear our immediate thoughts, because we need to be part of this conversation of pushing things forward and doing our part to enact change and hold, people accountable. That's the point of this show and that's the point of this episode. So that's why we're delivering an emergency episode for this week. But that's it for me. I feel like I got a lot off my chest. Dontè, do you have any last things to say?
Empathy goes a long way. I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me talk about empathy, but empathy goes a long way. Put yourself into somebody else's shoes and think about, what their perspective might be. Stop being so fucking selfish. That's all I have to say.
That's it for this episode, guys. No razzle dazzle on this episode. Just coming to you guys to talk about what happened. So y'all be safe. As always, continue to listen to the show, subscribe, tell your friends to listen, and we will catch you guys on the next one.
Keep looking forward to what's coming next.
Don't let the door hit you with a good Lord split you right up your ass.